Good morning, colleagues and friends, and on behalf of the Observer Research Foundation, a very warm welcome to the Tech4Democracy Asia Venture Day. We are delighted to host the Venture Day in Delhi, and it's great to have all of you here with us. The uses of technology to advance democratic values and to promote sustainable development are among our core areas of research at ORF. So the Tech4Democracy initiative resonated strongly with us when we were first introduced to it in 2021. From there, it was a natural step forward last year to partner with IE University and subsequently Microsoft to help steer the project in the Asia Pacific and work towards its finale today. We thank our partners for their vision and leadership at every stage. Now, today's event also happens to be a Think 20 event, and the T20, as you know, is an engagement group under the G20 and is often referred to as the Ideas Bank for the G20. In fact, ORF happens to be the Think 20 Secretariat during this year of the Indian presidency, so the T20 process is one that we are really quite closely involved with. Now, promoting startups and innovation has been an important part of deliberations at the G20 since 2018, and this is likely to be of interest to the entrepreneurs with us today. Some of the key ideas that have shaped these G20 discussions are the need to advance policies that foster innovation and market access, to ensure that there are more women-led startups in the tech sectors, and to encourage startups to adopt cutting-edge emerging technologies. India, of course, has been a prominent voice and a prominent part of these discussions, and during these same years, since 2018, India has put in place a broad range of measures to help build an enabling environment for startups. And today, our startup ecosystem happens to be the third largest in the world. The Indian G20 presidency reflects this prioritization of startups and new ventures. So a new engagement group called the Startup 20 was launched recently with the aim of acting as a hub to help startups and governments share knowledge, collaborate, and develop joint solutions. In fact, this focus also reflects in the work of the T20 task force that Trisha and I are both associated with, which includes a work stream on digital entrepreneurship, skills, and jobs. So, to the 5 finalists who will be presenting their ventures and engaging with the jury today, do know that your work is of great interest to us from a G20 and T20 perspective as well. At a more personal level, a couple of us had the good fortune of watching and listening to some of your presentations during the semi-final round, and we can say that your interventions are truly democracy-affirming. This has been a highly competitive selection process, and your making it to the final round is extremely well-deserved. So here's wishing you the very best for today, and welcome to New Delhi once again. Thank you. And with that, I'd like to invite Dr. Irene Blasquez, the Director of the Center for the Governance of Change at IE University, to deliver her opening remarks as well. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of IE University, Madrid, Spain, it is also my pleasure to welcome you all to this Tech4Democracy Asia Pacific Venture Day, a regional competition that we are running in Delhi. Yes, like this, better? Thanks so much. A regional competition that we are running in Delhi thanks to the partnership of ORF, Observer Research Foundation, and the great work of its team, especially Trisha Ray and Anirvan Sarma. I extend our gratitude to Washington University for joining us in this exciting project. As you all know, and Anirvan has already explained it, this session is taking place in conjunction with the Raisina Dialogue and as part of the G20 process. A special thanks, Anirvan and Trisha, for placing Tech4Democracy in such a special setting. I would also like to address a warm acknowledgement to the many startups that have participated in the competition, to the finalists from India, Indonesia, Nepal, New Zealand, and Singapore, to the members of the jury who have traveled from Australia, Japan, and Singapore, and this wonderful audience. All of you make of Tech4Democracy a meaningful and powerful initiative. But allow me to say a few words to recall the context in which the initiative Tech4Democracy was forged, its ultimate goal, the road we have traveled so far, and the journey that lies ahead. Tech4Democracy is an IE University-led global initiative in partnership with the US Department of State that was embedded in the Summits for Democracy launched by President Biden in December 2021. Tech4Democracy would not be sound and vibrant reality that is today without the strategic support of a generous partner such as Microsoft. Tech4Democracy seeks to leverage technology to promote democracy and safeguard it for the future generations. Democracies must revamp and deliver in an era of constant and rapid change, revisionism of the international liberal order, and great power competition. There is no doubt that technology plays a significant role in this context of disruption and tech race. Tech4Democracy aims at raising awareness on the importance of technologies that sew democratic values into their design, development, and deployment. To achieve this, we are working in two spaces. On the one hand, entrepreneurship and innovation, as IE University ranks #4 worldwide and first in Europe in this space. In this regard, we are identifying tech innovators and entrepreneurs who contribute to the advancement of democracy around the world through our Global Entrepreneurship Challenge. We have already run 3 regional competitions in Europe, Latin America, and North America. On the other hand, research in the space of foresight, technology, and policy, as we are crafting a major research report on fostering democracy through technology, which will assist public, private, and non-profit decision-making. Hosting this event today is a privilege for us. The Asia-Pacific startups that will compete today are developing very promising democracy-affirming technologies on inclusion and access to technology, as well as on cybersecurity and privacy. Today's winner will compete in Washington, D.C. during the second Summit for Democracy against the other 4 continental winners, including the selected startup from next week's African competition in Cape Town. Technology changes balances of power, conditions of prosperity, and the very idea of humanity. Democratic governments, innovators, and our societies have to foster those innovations that affirm our Charter of Civil Liberties and Rights in the digital space. As I have said in the past, if we want democracy to succeed in continuing to deliver global public goods, we must align technology with the best interests of humankind. We now will have the pleasure to listen to a welcome message from Dr. Arati Prabhakar, Director of the Office of Science and Technology, Policy on behalf of the US government. After this message, we'll welcome to the stage Ashutosh Chara, Country Head Government Affairs and Public Policy at Microsoft. Thank you all for being here today.
Good morning, everyone. I believe the representative from the US government isn't here right now. Thank you, Irene, for inviting me over, and Trisha and Anirban for setting this up. I'm extremely excited to be here today representing Microsoft as the global private sector sponsor for Tech4Democracy. I'd like to thank IE University, who's been the primary driver of this effort, and of course, as Anirban said, ORF for helping host us alongside Raisina, bringing this as a part of T20, as a part of the process of the G20 initiative, which is extremely important, and of course the US State Department for helping us sponsor this. This is the 4th Global Venture Day that we are on today here in India, and the previous ones were held in Madrid, Bogota, Silicon Valley, and there will be one followed in Africa, culminating in the grand final in Washington, D.C. later this year. We're extremely proud that one of the legs is happening in India, not just because we are one of the largest democracies, but because we all believe in the shared value of the democratic process and the democratic principles. And it's very exciting to see what innovations we can bring to help democratic processes succeed. As Microsoft, we believe that it's incumbent upon technology to serve, preserve, and enable democratic processes, as a result of which in 2018, we actually set up the Democracy Forward initiative, which basically seeks to safeguard and secure democratic processes, promote healthy information ecosystems, as well as advance corporate civic responsibility to ensure democracies sustain. But we believe very sincerely that we can't do this on our own, which is why we need partners, which is why we need startups who can innovate to affirm democracy and bring the power of technology to help support that. And hence, we are all excited to see the type of innovations that the finalists are going to show before us today, and the imagination and innovation that they are bringing forth with technology to help drive democratic processes. At the end of the day, technology is just a tool. It's the imagination and the innovation which the startups bring, which is what actually does justice to hold this thing. All startup finalists appearing today will actually get accelerated access to the Microsoft Founders Program and up to $150,000 worth of cloud credits, free software and mentorship, etc. But again, like I said, I think the real icing on the cake is the ideas and the innovations themselves. Wish all the participants the very best and really look forward to an exciting jury session which comes after this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh. We are going to listen now to remarks of Dr. Prabhakar. Sorry for the technical issues that happened before, but now is the moment of listening to this welcome and remarks. Thank you.
Hello to everyone who's joining us today or virtually. My name is Arati Prabhakar, and I am Director of the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. In December of 2021, President Biden hosted the Summit for Democracy, and in that room were more than 100 world leaders and activists, trade unionists, other members of civil society, academia, and industry, and the president asked them to strengthen the guardrails of democracy and to drive reforms to make transparent, accountable governments, because no democracy is perfect. It never happens by accident, but democracy must be renewed with every generation. The Summit for Democracy called on participants to commit to concrete ways to push back against authoritarianism, to fight corruption, and to promote and protect human rights. Most importantly, the initiative called on all of us to act in support of democracy, and that's what we're doing in the United States. To lead by example, we're committed to a series of actions outlined in the Presidential Initiative for Democratic Renewal. One of its 5 key pillars is advancing technology for democracy. The United States is committed to ensuring that the internet, artificial intelligence, and other technologies are developed and used in ways that support and reinforce democratic values by preserving our rights and treating everyone equitably. And I'd like to give you 2 examples. The United States embraces a vision of an internet that is open, free, global, interoperable, reliable, and secure. And related, we also recently released our blueprint for an AI Bill of Rights, which addresses biases and discrimination when algorithms are used. We are committed to protecting and respecting human rights online and across the digital ecosystem. To further turn our U.S. commitment into action, we want to incentivize innovation in technologies that make it easier to advance democratic values. And that's why the White House announced at the Summit for Democracy a series of international grand challenges on democracy-affirming technologies. These will allocate awards for those who build democracy-affirming technologies, for example, privacy-enhancing advancements. And we're therefore so pleased that IE University in Madrid took the initiative to run this series of Venture Day competitions as part of the Tech4Democracy initiative in partnership with the State Department through the U.S. Embassy in Madrid. This initiative aims to support global entrepreneurs who are developing these kinds of democracy-affirming technologies. The Venture Day today is a key step in powering this initiative. Its success depends on all of you to seize this opportunity and to contribute to this effort. When we bring together researchers and innovators and investors and entrepreneurs, we hope to see innovations built and advanced that embed democratic values at every stage of their development and use, from fighting misinformation to advancing government transparency. We know that science and technology can support the values that we hold so dear and drive us closer to our goals. Because we know way too well that technology is not inherently democracy affirming, we have to choose to build it and use it in ways that reaffirm democratic values. We have to choose to be participatory and inclusive by design. We have to choose to use it in ways that shield and advance privacy and civil liberties and civil rights. And we have to choose to apply it in ways that protect and promote human rights. It's up to us. For example, privacy-enhancing technologies can enable much more collaboration across entities and borders to help tackle shared challenges, from healthcare to climate change to corruption. And finally, developing technologies for democracy requires engaging with people around the world to make sure that innovation actually delivers and is designed for and tested by those who will eventually use it. And that's why it's so important for these venture days to take place in every region of the world and to harness your insights and creativity and entrepreneurship wherever you may live. We're currently in the year of action between the first and second Summit for Democracy. The time to act is now. The Technology for Democracy initiative offers entrepreneurs an opportunity to come together to ensure technology works for and not against democracy. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to hearing your ideas.
Is it working? Yeah. Thank you, partners, for this warm welcome. It's now time to start the competition. The competition will consist on a series of pitches of 5 startups against the jury that is at the table over there. They will have 5 minutes of a pitch and also then 5 minutes of Q&A by the jury. This startup competition consisted on a deep analysis on the APEC in the APEC region when it comes to democracy-affirming technology companies. We've analyzed more than 1,000 startups across the region, and we also been through a semi-final stage in which here today we have the top 5 companies from the region in this vertical. I'd like to invite the jury on stage and here to join us for the competition as well. These people here with us are the ones that are going to decide who will be the APAC winner. And as Irene said, this person, this company, one of those over there, will be competing in the Summit for Democracy with all the regional winners on the across continents. So to start, I'd like to introduce Gaby Vash. She's from the Center of AI and Digital Ethics of University of Melbourne, Australia. Gaby, could you share what democracy-affirming technologies are for you, and specifically what's the role of AI and of ethics when it comes to developing technologies for oriented in democracy related to AI and machine learning?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me here in this incredible city. It's wonderful to be here from Melbourne, Australia, but actually originally from New Zealand. I thought we had a fantastic introduction here from the Science and Technology in the US, and I'd like to echo her sentiments that ethics of technology is about not just ethics, but it's also about regulations and frameworks and laws and policies that prevent AI and machine learning from entrenching bias or discrimination in their systems, which we've already seen just way too many times. It means ensuring that these systems are not discriminating against gender or race or ethnicity or religion. It's making sure that we don't have tech systems that decide who should or shouldn't be in jail. And it's not just about these things, it's also about taking stock of this technology and asking, is it actually helping humans flourish? And are we really getting the best out of these systems for our democracies and for the people around us so that we can continue to grow the world and not pull it back into a time where what we read is not true or the decisions that are made about us are not fair? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Gabby, very much. Next online, we have Ko Fuji. He's founder and CEO of Makaira and comes straight from Japan for this event. So, Ko, we would like to share. We'd like you to share with the audience here what are democracy-affirming technologies for you, and also what would be the expectations for you on this competition.
Thank you very much for having me here. I am Ko Fuji, and I'm from Tokyo, Japan. We are Makaira, a public policy and public affairs advisory firm that also invests in social impact-making technology startups. So what is a democracy-affirming technology? I think there are two ways to discuss this. One is technologies and tools that enhance and support the institutional mechanical foundation of the democratic process, which includes freedom of speech, discussions among the public, processes of voting, security, etc., information security, etc. But I think what we are seeing around the world in the context of deterioration of democracy and the wider polarization of the people who should be running democracy is that the basic foundation of people's willingness to support the democratic process is being damaged. And I think the way to do that is to enhance tools that also not only support the institutional functions of democracy, but to support the wider social economic conditions that allow people to come together and to have a willingness to come to an agreement. Because at the end of the day, democracy is not about majority rules. Majority rules can result in mobocracy or populism or fascism, which my country has seen in the first half of the last century. So I think that not only just information and voting, freedom of speech, etc., but how do we get people to have the basic human dignity and this existential security that people feel comfortable enough to talk with each other and to create a society where things like compassion, civility, and decency are valued. So I think that may be a bit wider than what the organizers have imagined in the first place, but I think we do have startups that tackle these problems of wider social economic disparity and inclusion. So I think coming to my conclusion is that democratic supporting technologies are those that support the institutional workings of democracy, and also those that support the wider social economic conditions to make democracy possible. And I know that there are people in the world that think, well, authoritarian countries provide a better way to provide these social economic securities. But also democracy involves mental, cultural, and philosophical values that are not just solved by physical security. And there's a catch-22, a dilemma in trying to bring in these two together at the same time. But that is what I would like to expect to see from this event. Technologies that support democracy in the two ways that I've just mentioned, but also companies and venture startups that try to tackle these two dilemmas. So that's my expectation. Sorry for going on a long time, but thank you very much.
I'm also glad to share that here we have with us Rinda Kapoor. She's the CEO and co-founder of 30 Tech India. What I would like to know is, what do you think, in your opinion, are the biggest challenges and opportunities for startups innovating in this space? And also, it would be interesting for you to share which are the expectations on this competition.
Thank you so much for having me here, and thank you to everyone in the audience for attending. So the biggest challenges I think we are seeing currently is, as the scientific advisor said, we've seen everything that technology could do to mess up this process, right? We've seen invasion of privacy, we've seen cyber attacks, we've seen how all of those things could lead us down the wrong path. So the first challenge we need to come up with as the democratic world is, what is the constraints within which we want to build this technology, and how do we affirm that? How do we ensure that technology develops in that direction? The second challenge that I see coming up here is scale. Finding ways to create scalable technology designs from day zero, and this is to all of the startups that are participating in this, that is going to be one of the most incremental, the largest challenges we're going to see going forward. If you have a good solution, how do you ensure that it is designed from the ground up to meet that large volume requirement? The third is access to customers and defining what those customers' requirements are. And lastly, and I think this is an interesting debate in the world of AI in general, transparency. How do we create AI that we can measure, that we can understand, that gives us explanations for the inherent biases that we're currently seeing? In the opportunity sector, I think this is a widely untapped area. So the opportunities are immense. It's also a rapidly changing world. What that means is startups have the agility to innovate that large companies don't. So startups are going to be the de facto partners to develop, design these solutions. So it's a space that's open to young entrepreneurs and innovators around the world. And lastly, and I think this goes back to the concept of the way these technologies are building, there is a massive opportunity to work at the technology level on building explainable AI. That is really the next frontier that's going to allow all of these dreams and these visions to become a reality, is innovating on the fundamental technology. Now, while that is harder, it needs more investment. We're also seeing the kind of AI race that's been unleashed by ChatGPT. So there is a massive opportunity over there. So to everybody over here, all of the finalists, best of luck. Keep doing what you're doing, and thank you very much.
I'd also like to introduce Nayani Nasa. She comes from Microsoft. She's an innovation specialist. We would like to know from your side, what's, in your opinion, the role of big companies or big corporations on democracy-affirming technology? Is it working?
Hi, am I audible?
This can happen anyway. We are in an entrepreneurship environment, so we can adapt quite fast.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Hi, first of all, my congratulations to IE University, ORF, and the Raisina Dialogue for organizing this very pertinent event on Tech4Democracy, and also for inviting Microsoft to partner on this initiative. Like my colleague Ashutosh also mentioned, tech can only be seen as an enabler to leapfrog startups and innovations and innovative companies to adopt these technologies that can help us become a digital democracy. So what I'm hoping to see today and hoping to learn today is, how are some of these technologies helping us address some of the very pressing global questions which are around inclusivity, and around access to data, democratizing the access to data, democratizing the access to tech infrastructure that can be used by these innovative companies to develop goods and products and services that can help not just a country become digitally democratic, a digital democracy rather, but the world to become digitally democratic. Also, I'd just like to announce here, and my colleague actually had stolen my thunder at that time, that all the startups pitching today will have access to about $150,000 worth of free credits from Microsoft, and this includes cloud credits as well as product and development support. We will also give them access to our Azure Technical Advisory, which is access to our engineering team to help them refine these solutions and ensure that they reach a stage that they are, like Brinda really very clearly pointed out, so that they reach a stage where they become scalable and adoptable by not just countries, but the world at large. So I'll pause at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next in line, we have Gautam Saxena. He's founder and managing partner of Pegasus 7 Ventures from Singapore. As a founder of Pegasus 7 Ventures, would you agree with the team so far, with the panel of jury so far on the challenges and the opportunities? And is there any specific aspect, or I would say any factor that you think that the VC industry is lacking towards a better development of this vertical of innovation?
Thank you for that. I'd like to start off by thanking ORF, IE, Microsoft, and Raisina Dialogue for inviting me here. I manage a tech-enabled, impact-focused venture capital fund focusing on Southeast Asia, where we really focus on the unserved, the underserved, commonly also referred to as the next billion. So a lot of my responses will come from that lens. Absolutely agree with all my fellow panelists and their initial observations. I think the startups here are doing something very interesting and brave, which is, this is not a typical startup problem-solving opportunity set, right? So you are actually ahead of the curve in identifying a future problem and looking to commercialize it and addressing it. So congratulations on that. I think the challenges are going to be a few in my mind, opportunity set attractive aside. Look, Tech4Democracy has two angles to it, right? One is tech and one is democracy. I think on the tech side, the way the tech ecosystem is progressing is fantastic. Access to cheap data, access to cheaper smartphones, access to very affordable internet are all tremendous catalysts in serving the population, the target population. I think identifying and addressing the democracy problem, or the problem set rather, and breaking it down and fragmenting it so that it hits the right target segment is going to be one of the challenges. Specific examples would be access. How do you access your target population segment? Keep in mind that there is a creamy layer, and then there is a big segment which doesn't necessarily have the bandwidth to focus on democratic issues because they are working on a day-to-day basis, just subsistence and survival, right? So to make them aware and to give them a frictionless access at a low cost to your solutions, I think is going to be a key. Keeping them on the adoption level, getting them to adopt it and stay sticky is going to be very interesting. Scalability we've all talked about. I think that's going to be a key challenge here. A lot of the solutions could be global, so I would encourage you to look at that. But finally, one aspect has to be the revenue model and the profitability, which is linked to your funding and the ability to stay in the game, right? Till the ecosystem reaches a scale where it can support you. So I would really not underestimate the importance of revenue model, path to profitability, and ongoing funding to stay in the game. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'd also like to introduce Priya Shah. She's a general partner of Raisina Ventures in India. I know that a lot has been said so far, but we really like to hear your opinion on different aspects. But specifically, what we'd like to pick on would be on the opportunity that democracy-affirming technologies presents the challenges and the different aspects that we have right now with climate tech and the threats of climate change.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much to all the partners for having us here, to RF, Microsoft, and IE. It's a pleasure to be here and very excited to see all the startups in action this morning. I think, as you mentioned, our panelists have already, our jury has already touched upon transparency, the importance of institutional frameworks, corporations, the importance of revenue metrics, profitability, et cetera, and scaling up these innovations. I think what I just wanted to add before we get started is, climate change is one of of the areas that we look at as the next big frontier. So we've seen a lot of technology innovations in financial inclusion, in gender equality, in healthcare, and obviously a lot remains to be done. I think there's a huge amount of value with technologies like AI and machine learning coming into the transparency in data that we see across various different aspects in the energy transition, not just in fuels, but also in mobility and food and agriculture and space technology, and helping populations get access to that data so that they can make that adoption curve towards a more decarbonized future. And that heavily rests on institutions and corporates, but it also rests on consumers being able to adopt these products and services at the best possible price and at the ease of sort of data and information as well. So that's an area that we're deeply passionate about and excited to explore, but for now, very excited to meet the startups this morning, and good luck to all of those who are pitching. Thank you.
I'll invite the jurors as well. You have water in front of you, so feel free to grab some. And let's give another round of applause to all of them, the 6 together that came from 4 different countries to select the winner of this competition. Our first startup of today came straight from, is from India, so they're here in their home country. And it's important to consider the freedom of deciding our future is something inherent to humankind. Even though democracy has been around for millennia, there are still certain challenges that we need to face and we need to tackle. Please welcome on stage Right to Vote, originally from India, to tell us what they're going to do to make democracy available for everyone.
Yeah, hi, good morning everybody. I'm Neeraj Gudgutia, founder of Right to Vote Infotech. We are an online voting platform. And as the name suggests, our mission is to ensure that no voter is denied his right to vote. Take the example of Indian national election 2019. Around 1 billion people were supposed to vote. $5 billion was spent on the election, roughly $5 a person. 11 million officials were deployed to manage the election. 1 million polling booths were created. Still 33% of the people were denied their right to vote. And national election is not the only election. There are more than 10 million different elections happening in a country like India every year. It is across professional bodies, colleges, clubs, housing societies, unions, etc. The total market is more than $3 billion in India alone. The biggest problem of the current offline voting system is voter inconvenience. Voter has to travel to a booth to vote. He has to stand in a queue to vote. And that's why many people are not able to vote, and the voter turnout is very low. With our Right to Vote online voting technology, voter can vote from anywhere within seconds. This not only substantially increases the voting percentage, but it reduces cost by minimum 90%, human effort by 99%, time required by 90%, security is 100% foolproof, authentication is much better, and counting is automatic and instant. On our platform, we have 1,600 different combinations of election possible. We have 7 different patents that we have filed. We have a lot of features. For example, security and authentication, we have Aadhaar-based authentication. So biometric authentication of the voter can be done using face, iris scan, or fingerprint. We have transparency features like audit trail and voter selfie. We have we can do very complex elections. For example, the President of India election or the CA Institute or a Bar Council election where transfer of vote is done automatic. That also we can do on our platform. And the best part is it's very easy to use. Even an illiterate can vote on our platform. We are a Government of India approved e-voting platform. We have been tested and certified by STQC, which comes under Ministry of Information Technology, and also approved by Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India. In 21-22, we did more than 1,500 elections, all elections paid for and individually profitable. And this year, we would be doubling that. And all this we achieved with zero marketing spend. We did a turnover of $150,000 in 21-22 and a profit of $37,500, and we would be doubling that this year. We have customers, marquee customers across segments. So for example, International Solar Alliance, which is an alliance of 163 countries, they are our customers. PwC, ENY, KPMG, Tata Housing, Godrej Properties, Indian Oil Employees Union, Air India Employees Union, NTPC Employee Union, IIT Delhi Alumni Association, Lions Club, Rotary Club, all these are our customers. So for investors, as he was mentioning, we are a profitable startup, a SaaS company, a $3 billion market. We have a great team. The product is already there, approved by government, used by more than 2,000 customers every year. We are #1 platform in the world in terms of the features that we have on our platform. And the best part is we are PAT positive. So our requirement is, what we are looking to raise is 4 million, and that would be used for team development, business development, and international certifications and patents. In terms of team, I'm the founder. I am a CA plus MBA with 20 years experience across Reliance Industries, ICICI Bank, etc. Neha is our tech founder, and she's from NIT Rourkela. She's expert in online transaction, authentication, and security, working in banking softwares like Oracle and iFlex. And that is the same expertise she has built in Right to Vote. So our team is basically majorly tech team, and diversity is 50%. We are accelerated by Facebook, NASCOM, Village Capital, Omidyar Network, and recently Stanford, awarded by IIT Bombay, IIM Calcutta. BBC has extensively covered our platform. So this is the equipment we created for Maharashtra State Election Commission with biometric authentication linked with Aadhaar. So BBC did a detailed feature on this. So before I conclude, I have a request to everybody in this room. Recently, Sri Lanka has gone bankrupt, and that's why they have postponed their elections. Now, we can do the same election at 1/4 the cost. So anybody in this room, if they can connect us to the right person in Sri Lankan government, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Well, I'll invite the juries to just raise your hand and or either ask a question right away.
Thank you.
Am I audible or, yeah, okay. I'll connect you with the Sri Lankan government.
That would be great.
Good luck with that. After that, you're on your own. Look, very interesting. I think the two questions I have is, if the opportunity set is so attractive, right, and I would like to get into the weeds later on the $3 billion opportunity, how do you market size it? There will be a need for a moat and entry barriers, right? And it's not clear to me what that is, because you're only as good as your patents and your technology, but if it's too attractive, there will be competition coming. And second, your revenue model, is it episodic? Is it contractual? Are you secure in longer term contracts with your customers? What's the stickiness there?
Yeah. So in terms of revenue model, we charge for each event. So for each event, somebody is doing elections. That time, the election manager, the voter doesn't pay to us. The election manager pays us based on number of voters, scale of business, the features they are using. So the 1,500 plus elections that we did last year, 3,000 elections that we are doing this year, each and every election is paid for and individually profitable. In terms of creating moat, I agree. The moat is the brand name that is created when you do successful elections. So if we do 2,000 elections a year or 3,000 elections a year, the next customer is referred by the other customer. And when we do elections in Sri Lanka or other countries, we would be called from other countries to participate. Of course, these would be government bids. They would be competitive, but the better software and technology we have, better chances would be there for us to survive. And this is not a market for 1 or 2 player taking all. It would be at least 10, 15 players globally who would be doing elections in different countries.
Thanks for that. Just one suggestion would be to go for longer term contracts. It's hard, but that's what will give you time to just, get the stickiness going.
Sure, but our experience has been that mostly customers stick. Rarely we have seen that customer, once they have used our platform, they go switch to some other platform.
Hi, I'm going to ask a question that
gets a lot asked a lot with e-voting apps is so you mentioned privacy and secrecy of voting, but how do you ensure a physical environment where people are able to vote with their free will, not having somebody else watching over their shoulder and forcing somebody to pick the candidates?
So I understand the question you are coming to is coercion. There is a chances that people would be under pressure to vote for a certain candidate when you are doing online voting, unlike booth-based voting where you provide a privacy for the voter to vote. I believe that is your question. So yeah, so we have looked through that and we have built technologies around that. So once the voter is voting, that time we have a feature where we can record the video and sound in the environment that he is voting, so that if anybody is behind his back or looking on his shoulder, it can be captured. At the same time, we have biometric and other verifications to ensure that only that person is voting and nobody else is voting. So we have very seriously taken the coercion part also, that it should not happen. And coercion is a big issue, but we have to also understand that if 33% of the people are not voting, coercion pressure might be on 1 or 2%. So we have to value which is more important, the 33% of lost vote or 1 or 2% where people are crowded. So both things we have to value.
Thank you. I have a question about access, which is how do you propose to address the people who don't have access to the internet or have unreliable?
Yeah, so I showed on the screen that initially, can I go back? Yeah, so we had created an equipment for Maharashtra State Election Commission for this particular reason, because right now there are still 20 to 30% of the population which are maybe connected to internet, having mobile, but they don't have smartphones. So we have created an equipment, a digital voting machine, which has biometric verification and everything. So we will have a booth created for those people, but there the advantage would be that anybody can go to any booth and vote. So a voter who is in, say, Delhi and need to vote in Bombay, he can also go and vote on that particular instrument, which can't happen right now because it is a digital screen. You can have any ballot paper there, unlike the EVM machines currently. And this is a transitory phase. So after 4 or 5 years, hopefully everybody would be connected by internet and they would be able to vote online. But initially, there would be partly online, partly offline. Thank you.
Then we have no more time for more questions, but we have a networking session afterwards, so you can ask either audience or here the jury any question that you may have. Let's give another applause for Safe to Open. Information has always played a key role in society and its democratic processes. But how do we make sure that information is accessible to everyone and that it's also accurate? Our next startup came straight up from Nepal to share how the future of information looks like for them. Please welcome Ryan Gaze on stage.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dipesh Regmi, representing Ringaze, a startup from Nepal. Thank you for this opportunity. So back in 2022, in midst of COVID, there was a big challenge for the organization working in Nepal. They were not able to access the people whom they were serving before. The idea of sending communication was very limited due to lockdowns and people not having access to internet, smartphones like that. The problem came when there was a lot of misinformation. The misinformation came from like other source, local areas, and they wanted to curtail that in misinformation. They wanted to send proper information regarding COVID, their changing guidelines, and what to be the safe precaution. So we worked with them, creating a platform that is called Ringaze, which is a mobile engagement technology and use interactive voice response or voice as a platform to communicate. So how we contribute to democracy? As an organization, we believe in diversity, representation, participation, and we have transformed that idea into our product. Access to information for us is right, not a privilege. We believe there should be inclusivity. There are a lot of things with the modern technology that create the biases of sending information and receiving information for certain class of people, some marginalized section. There should be transparency. The projects run by government and other entities should have a process of getting information back from the community and being heard. There should be increased participation among the communities, and that could be created by the ownership, and we help to build that ownership through the process of providing the language. And in terms of improved access, what we have done is we have created a platform from which recently we helped 3 of the municipalities in Nepal to create budget through polling, survey, and feedback collection. So what solution we are providing? One of the areas we are working is disaster risk reduction communication management, where we are helping organization to provide impact-based forecasting information directly to the communities so they can be prepared for in the case of disaster, for evacuation, and for cash vouchers. We are providing learning lessons where in terms of education, health, and democracy, we have created bunch of programs that is played through voice, and the people's social behavior changes. Their changes on their behavior is impacted and checked. Another thing is we have done CFRM. As I said, there is a process of feedback collection, and that is kept anonymous, and that is ensured that this information which is provided by community is reached to the right kind of person and authority without manipulations. So why we work in voice technology? Because it has the biggest reach in Nepal. Why we worked in this platform? Because the language in Nepal only there is 121 recognized language and 10 languages that is official, that is being recognized in different provinces. The literacy rate, there are 30% illiterate population still, and it can be used in any phones. It doesn't have to be smartphone. A simple burner phone can be used. So in terms of technology, we have done some innovation in Nepal. We are Nepal's first voice-powered communication solution. We have developed this solution as platform as service, ensuring every agency organization can use it separately. We have done as a self-service portal system to ensure the privacy and security of the data and information for every organization is kept safe. We have provided API solutions that is linked with early warning system, and we have provided cloud telephony system. This is our market segment we are currently working. And this is the size where we want to compete. There are similar products in Southeast Asia and Africa, but they are non-customizable. We are a customizable solution, and we are 10 times affordable than others. So our traction rate is good. We started with merely 37K, and we have grown immensely from that point. So we are a profitable company right now. In future, we want to work in omni-channel solution and dynamic voice. So we are seeking for around $3 million USD for 48 months. This is my co-founding team who come from different background and education. And this is our core team who is diverse in terms of gender, in terms of ethnicity, and in terms of the geographic education and their experience. Thank you for this opportunity.
I'd like to remind the juries to remember filling the information on the startups as well for knowing who will be selected as a winner. If you want, Priya, you can start. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Just had a quick question about the product roadmap. So you mentioned voice is obviously the main innovation, but you're also looking at cloud telephony and APIs, etc. What is the capacity right now of the target audience to absorb these new sort of technologies? What kind of training would they be required, and how do you sort of measure your success metrics based on the new technologies?
Yes, so in terms of using just a phone call, it seems a very rudimentary technology. But what we have found that there is larger application, that larger ownership among the communities that we work with. The organization which works with us basically works in a rural areas and areas of tier 2 cities of the country. So in terms of that, we have seen lot of acceptance to it. So in future, we want to build it in a bigger scale where we add components of text, chat, and everything. So eventually, as my last presenter also said, in 4 or 5 years, everybody is going to have internet and the access of smart telephones. So it would be possible to add new components to it.
Yeah, no, I just had one quick follow-up question on the cost that it would be. I mean, you mentioned a $3 million raise, so yes. Most of it going to be going into these new developments on the product?
Yes, and also we are looking at expanding to East Africa initially because we have got good feedbacks. We have been connecting with people who are working in that areas, and they have also said that the problem with existing competitors are the price range are too, it's unaffordable for them. And one of the ideas for us is this product should not be used for non-profit organizations who has budgets and government agencies, but local communities who has very small amount of revenue or small amount of budget they have. So they can adopt this technology. That's the idea.
Please go ahead.
Sorry, I'll just to follow up on that question. Apart from East Africa, are there any other regions, countries that you think this could see good adaptability in?
Yes, Southeast Asia, because when we were doing the research, the idea was yes, we had a problem, that's why organization reached out to us, but we understood that there was a lot of application happening in Southeast Asia, so that could be the reason where we want to do work.
Okay.
So my primary question is on go-to-market. You're looking at going after a customer segment that is basically the government, right? Yes. But you're also looking at a very distributed customer segment. So what are your strategies on go-to-market, and how is that built into your fundraise right now?
So in terms of go-to-market strategy, because we wanted to have a good stream of revenue, and that came from government tenders and non-profit organization tenders. But we see the application going to the municipality level. So it would be going to the more rural areas, convincing, in Nepal there is 753 municipalities that is around the country. So reaching out to that would be our major focus area.
So a follow-up to that is so that's an expensive business model, right? Because the the number of manpower required to do that kind of outreach becomes expensive. So what is your plan to overcome that barrier?
Yes, one thing is because of COVID and everything, lots of municipalities has gone digital. There are lots of application that is being used in that communities with whom we can integrate first. Second would be reducing cost in terms of having them in webinar sections kind of thing. Till now, we haven't moved outside of Kathmandu Valley to do these projects. Everything comes to us in terms of digital reach or say meetings through Zooms and webinars kind of thing. So we haven't sent people outside. What we have done is more of targeting reach to them through calls and through chats and emails. Thank you.
Let's give another set of applause to Ringaze as well. And I remind the juries to fill the results. We spend most of our lives connected to technological devices, sharing our personal data, while becoming more vulnerable towards potential threats. Isn't there a way to be more responsible regarding the use of technology? The next startup has come from New Zealand to show us what a safe digital life looks like. Please welcome Safe to Open.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Shweta, and I'm one of the senior security analysts.
And I'm Mazir Jambeglu. I'm the CEO, founder of Safe to Open.
So Safe to Open, as the name suggests, is one of the cybersecurity tool which prevent users to enter sensitive information in the phishing websites. And these phishing websites are designed to trick users to enter sensitive information, such as username and passwords, credit card information, and other sensitive information. So Safe to Open is trying to alert users at the first place and safeguard everyone. These applications, cybersecurity tool that we provide here is helps the community to prevent themselves, and it detects as well. So I'll hand over to Mazia to tell us more about it.
Yeah, thank you. So as we know, we are all using technology, and we are logging to our accounts almost every day. We are using different services, Microsoft, Google. And some of these websites can be actually duplicated. Exactly looks similar with the actual legitimate website, but actually the domain is different, so your information will be sent somewhere else. As for democracy, that actually could contribute to someone, influencer with like 10 million followers accounts hacked. And then they basically, the hacker can actually put wrong information to manipulate the mind, and then actually can send some phishing emails targeting the election to actually change the result of the election. I want to just talk about very shortly about the Hillary Clinton's phishing campaign, election campaign. So his chairman got hacked, and then his sensitive emails were actually leaked to WikiLeaks, and that actually could change people's opinion about their campaign, and actually could impact the result of the election. But how Safe to Open actually contributes to a healthy society and democratic society. So basically, there is no way we can stop phishing. Phishing is ever-growing battles, and to be on top of the phishing, we really need to reduce the time of detection and protection. Currently, with the current tools, it takes about hours or days to detect a phishing website and protect them. But in Safe to Open, we actually reduce that time to under a second. So this is a very similar example of the email that John Podestro, the chair campaign of Hillary Clinton, received. And then it looks like Google, right? As some information up there actually shows it is Google, but it is not from Google. So with Safe to Open, in under a second, you will see this. So it analyzed the page that you're saying, like a cybersecurity analyst sitting next to your shoulder, looking at the page, looking at the logos, images, the domain information, and quickly tells you that this website is not safe, don't enter your credentials. So imagine if John Podestro was using our tool, and actually we existed 7 years ago, and he was using our tool, that actually come up with a different result. And our tool used AI, computer vision, to analyze how similar is this domain or this website to the legitimate one. So we give the accuracy of 100%, telling it is a phishing website targeting Google. So most of the tools in the market, they actually use the dynamic list of reported URLs by victims, which actually could let people to enter their credentials in a newly created phishing website. That's the word that I want to emphasize. They call it 0 day, they call it never before seen. None of these tools that you use can tell you this website is not bad. But Safe to Open actually use the computer vision, AI, machine learning, to just identify maybe the things that the user don't really pay attention to, and then it tells them that this website is not safe. And we are one of the partners with Google VirusTotal. As you can see, out of the 90 other security vendors, we are the only one who could correctly detect a phishing site and report it to them. So this is another way we contribute to the democratic society, by just informing others not to enter their credentials. Yeah, we are based in New Zealand. We use AI, computer vision. We are partnered with Google and Microsoft, and we have been nominated for the Best Security Award in New Zealand. And we have an authorized reseller in Singapore that can sell our product to 14 other countries. So we have paid customers, and we got partners, we got free users that use our products across 66 countries, and all of our infrastructure is in Microsoft, so we can easily scale up if you want to. Thank you.
Any one of the viewers that want to kickstart the questions? Great, got them.
Give it another try. Thank you. two questions. One, the problem set you're solving is high opportunity, right? It's vast. And the potentially more lucrative segments will be the typical phishing aspects on the financial services side, etc. Right? So I think you're probably going to be challenged in terms of focusing more on the problem set of democracy or issues which relate to the topic today versus the rather more lucrative problem set. Yeah. So how would you address that? And it's a good problem to have. Yeah. The second one is it's a cluttered market, particularly for the layman and the average user. Right. So how do you break through that clutter and get the attention that this is a differentiated product?
Well, for the first question, I think everyone is using one of these services. Even though you work for government, you might actually use Office 365 to log in, and that actually can be phished. The other problem that actually people facing is they get attachments in their emails, but it's not a link, so it is actually bypassing all of these security measurements and tools. And then once you click on that, if you have safe to open, it actually pops up and it shows this website is not safe, and accordingly it reports it to your security team for faster protection. We have been in the market since 2020, and actually we use SEO, we use any sort of digital marketing to gain access, and we got good reviews. People are liking that we can protect them online against, again, never before seen phishing site. As you said, it is a very big problem, and then that's why we want to make a difference between what we do compared to other competitors.
Is it B2B or B2C?
Both. Any other question?
Any other question from anyone on the jury? Okay, let's give another applause to Safe to Open.
Thank you.
Equality before the law is a core democratic value. However, that's not a reality for everyone, especially financially. How can we go the extra mile, making sure that us citizens are treated in an equal manner? All the way from Singapore to here, India, please welcome Smile on stage to tell us how that extra mile looks like. I'd like to remind the judges about the form as well.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. My name is Jerome Eger. I am the, excuse me, please. I'm the CEO and founder of Smile API. We help fintechs to make better credit decisions using employment data. So I would like to start with our problem proposition. So first of all, there are millions of people in Southeast Asia that have no access to credit data. Yeah? So this is a problem if you would like to apply for a loan, or if you would like, for example, to start a small business. There is an opportunity to solve the problem if you use employment data. It's a fantastic source of employment information, it's a fantastic source for credit data, but it remains highly fragmented. So this is essentially the problem that we are solving. So you have all different sources of employers, information from payroll, gig economy platforms, Social Security, all sorts of employer data is bound in Smile, and we expose one single API that helps financial institutions to get information about their borrowers, banks, lenders. We have buy now, pay later, earned wage access, all sorts of financial institutions that help you to get this information. So specifically, there are normal workers, the so-called next billion, that we're talking about in different countries in Southeast Asia that are currently using this solution already within their favorite fintech application. How does the process look like? So for the end user, it's a simple 4-step process. It's fully compliant. You give consent as the end user, and you will immediately be transferred to a next website that essentially works like a Google search engine. So you search for your employer, then you use your access information to get access to that platform. It will all be facilitated through Smile, and you're back in the main process. You do not have to leave the app of your fintech provider, which would be your bank or your lending company, or whoever enables you to get access to a loan. So what do lenders receive in return? It's very important for the lenders to have identity. This is one problem that has been solved in India, but in many other countries, people don't have access to credible identity information. Ratings. We have transactions. So how many deliveries have you done in a day? Or what's also important, direct deposit switches, which enables repayment with lower risk. Remember, lower risk means lower interest rate, means better access to financial services. Employment information. Who is your employer? This is very important. If you can prove this within a few seconds, you will get access to financial services. Documents. So, for instance, your ID card, if there is a driver's license, or just a very simple document that is held by your employer or your employment platform. These digital platforms are really a wealth of information that can, if shared, enable you to get much, much better access to financial services. So, income information. How much are you making? Can you repay a loan? All of these things become very transparent to a lender and enable you to get better access. And last but not least, we also offer access to asset information. So with this technology, we were able to reduce the non-performing loans of the banks and financial services that we're working with by over 50%, in some cases even more. So currently, we're covering the Philippines, which is our initial market. It has a population of 112 million people and a workforce of over 45 million people, out of which we are covering roughly 41, or the better part, or the 90% of the population, of the working population. So this is a huge contribution which gives tremendous access to financial services by just being able to share your employment information. Where are we going next? So right now, as I mentioned, we're in the Philippines covering 41. The next step will be we're going to Southeast Asia, where there's over 300 million workers that will be covered by our infrastructure. And last but not least, we would like to cover all of Asia with over 1 billion workers. So what's our traction? We have been growing in the last 12 months with over 30% month-over-month growth in the API calls that we conduct together with our partners, with the banks and financial institutions that we are serving. We are also not yet profitable, but we have exponential growth in our revenues, and we're also hiring a lot of tech people to build the infrastructure and to maintain the infrastructure. Our team is built of industry professionals with solid experience in the fintech industry. Myself, I have built a fintech company based in Europe, in Frankfurt before. I've been living in Asia for the past 20 years, and I've been with BCG advising financial institutions. My other co-founder, Jean Pabellion, is a very experienced product manager with experience in Oracle, NetSuite. He's led product teams across Asia, including India, and Changgang is our CTO. He builds the product, and he's also our head of customer success. So our idea was to have the CTO be responsible for customer success. It's a fantastic idea. We did it out of necessity, but we also thought this really makes a lot of sense. If the thing that you build is also presented to the customer through you, you really build a prime product. Now, we have already raised over $3 million, and we're now raising a seed round of $5 million. We are supported by Credit Ease, Plug and Play, and 4Capital in Silicon Valley. Thank you very much for the time, and looking forward to the questions.
Thank you for the presentation. Really interesting technology innovation, and particularly exciting that you've integrated with the fintech providers, the banks, et cetera, to sort of access a whole bunch of different types of workers. And then on the just wanted to have ask a question about the type of workers that you're accessing, because obviously you have informal labor, then you have formal labor. So how do you differentiate between them? That's the first question. And the second question is, you mentioned BNPL and access to consumer credit as well as one of the benefits. So is there sort of an algorithm that you've built within your software that actually comes out with a credit evaluation score, or is that something that's done by the banks and you're just aggregating the core points of data?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Two fantastic questions that are really at the heart of what we do at the moment. So the first one is really about access. What are the people that you cover? And I'm repeating your question because I think it was. So we cannot access the informal sector that has no data. Yeah, this is the challenge, which I think some of the other startups already mentioned. Where there's no data, there's no visibility. So there's a challenge to build this up in the next couple of years. But as soon as you have a phone or somebody's paying contributions on your behalf, such as your employer, you don't even have to have a phone yourself. If your employer makes social security contributions or you have an Aadhaar account like in India, there is a track record that is there, but it is like oil that you own. It's kept in the ground, but nobody helps you to take it out. We are the company that helps you to get it out on your behalf with your consent and to process it. But to answer the question in a more comprehensive way, for the customers that we serve at the moment, we're going through payroll companies that are mostly cloud-based, but we also do on-prem. We do social security, which is covering a lot of the population. We have similar to the 401k or your contribution systems that we know from other countries, set up a system that accesses this information as well. And last but not least, we have all of the gig economy platforms that are the largest, so your Grab, your Uber, et cetera, to provide this kind of information to into the Smile API as well. Yeah. And sorry, the second question again? Ah, yeah, okay, good. Yeah, so specifically, there are consumer loans that are available, and so specifically what kind of processing they need in order to get it right depends on these different financial institutions. So the highest sophistication you find at the banks, but they're very slow, and they have big tech teams and they have resources. They can essentially process very raw data, but it takes a lot of time. Then there is a medium segment for fintech platforms, I call them NBFIs in India, non-bank financial institutions, that can process the data in an intermediate step. They usually like to have one layer of explanation or categorization. Yeah? So they can process it. So we usually summarize it to one income layer. So for instance, in the Philippines, there are people that are paid twice a month. Gig workers are typically paid on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, or they can choose in the app, right? Then there are others who get paid monthly, or even overseas Filipino workers who are on the ships, they get paid on a quarterly basis, or even biannual basis. So it's very complicated. We break it down on a convenient per month income layer of data that we then provide to these intermediate fintechs. And then at the lower end, the lower end fintechs, they essentially provide they would just like to have a score, right? And there we just send very concentrated information, like 4 factors, and then they can make the underwriting decision based on that, yes. Yeah.
Jerome, just to follow up on that question, is there any proprietary scoring that you do? Or because you're doing all the hard work for the lazy lenders, right? I get that, right?
Yeah.
That's a big problem solving that you're doing. But is there any proprietary credit scoring that you do based on all the non-traditional data you're getting, or is there any plans for that?
We have one, we haven't rolled it out yet.
Okay.
Yeah. We're testing it right now with a couple of customers internally and see what is the performance, and then we will roll it out.
Yeah, I would really encourage you to focus on that, and we can talk about it a bit later. The second question is your revenue model. Are you paid on the leads, or are you paid on successful loans processed?
We don't, only on the leads.
On the leads.
Yeah, because okay. I can go very deep into,
just a quick
pricing.
Yeah.
So just a quick one is essentially we are paid by connected accounts. So if you connect one employment account, this is when Smile gets paid by the financial institution, not by the end user. It's important. And and then we have different pricing models. So we have a freemium for smaller startups that would like to get started on Smile. Then we have a pay-per-use, which has full flexibility, but rather, still affordable, but not the best pricing that we get per call. And then we have the subscriptions, which have hundreds of thousands of calls included, but they help us to have more, a better outlook in terms of what our revenues are going to be in the future. And we also do even annual contracts, yeah.
We have, if you want 1 extra minute, Gabi, you wanted to make a question, or?
My question is about the asymmetrical power dynamics between an employer and an employee. And I'm just wondering if there are avenues for the employee to contest any of the information that's provided by their employer, if they feel it's unfair or hasn't represented their situation properly.
To what?
Contest the information provided.
Well, yes, there is, but it wouldn't have anything to do with Smile because it's ultimately the relationship between the employer and the employee. It's the data. So under the GDPR or Data Protection Act, there is a data protection law in almost every country. The one in India, by the way, is one of the oldest, and so. Usually you own the data as the data subject, as the individual. So you can always contest this with the so-called data controller, who in this case would be the employer. Now, we are a processor, and we're processing this information on the end user's behalf and transfer it to a new controller, which would then be a fintech company, right? So if the information there is incorrect, the markets in which we work all have this right. Yeah, this is fantastic. We can only work in markets that have effective. So they would have to go to the controller. We facilitate this by an option within our SDK. Yeah? So you can say delete the data or request change. So we have a facilitation for that.
Yep.
But ultimately, it's the controller who has to do it. Yes.
So they would be referred away from your service.
Sorry?
So you would not have any avenues, like would you be providing information or ways that they could then go and contest that if they discover through your facilitation that the service, that the information provided is incorrect?
So, sorry, the audio is really bad. I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Sorry, this took much longer.
Yeah.
I understand that, of course, that the data is held with the employee. I was just wondering that within your service, if people feel within that transaction that there has been an issue, do you provide any kind of avenue to help them facilitate? Do you facilitate that?
Yes, we have this. So we have a button within our SDK where you can stop the, where you can essentially request to not share any data anymore. Okay. So there's a full support, and later on they will have to clear this with the data controller, right? So we're an infrastructure that routes the data from one point to another, and we cannot interfere with the data because we don't own it. Yeah, so thank you.
Round of applause to Smile.
Thank you very much.
I know it's obviously 1 hour already, but we have networking session. Also, we have one great startup coming. So society is aware about the positive impact that technological advancements have had in our lives. This is not a rule for every group in society. What would be to live in a current world without having these digital benefits that we all benefit from? I'd like to introduce to stage, straight from Indonesia, to Suarez.
Morning. So now you do most things through digital, right? Shopping, order taxi, to here. Let me tell you a story about Rika. One day she got stroke in the eyes, and in less than 1 year, she lost her sight, almost got fired, and no longer can access website and app as she used to be. 30% of people get disability when they're old, they're adult. 60% of disability is hidden. The thing is, disability is not a question of if. People get disability by birth, through accident, by disease. We also will get old. Disability is also about aging population. Indonesia has ratified UN CRPD acknowledging disability involvement in digital. But the thing, not every country have the same regulations. Indonesia, like many global south countries, don't have law to enforce it yet. Lack of accessible app for people with disability limit access, meaningful participation, and various life opportunities. Example, Indonesian disability voters cannot access information election, including knowledge and also candidate profiles. Digital accessibility already exists. It's on your phone, on your handphone, and it's already there. But the platform owner don't use the standard to create it. Our solution is Bali. It's a crowdsourced accessibility reporting platform which enables users with disability to report accessibility better, and platform owner can get a systematic feedback. It's enabled technology, democracy, even for blind and screen reader users. This is our market size. Indonesian disability population is equal with Australian. Imagine all of their citizens disabled. The community has complained, but the platform owner reluctant to do it because of minority issues, no regulations, and also limited expertise. Thus, no significant improvement for the accessibility. Regulatory is necessary, but it takes years, and both report and regulatory is important to change the system. Bali also can be a tool for monitor regulatory implementation. This is our key competitors. So there are the service company, and also there are manual tools. And manual tools on the bottom, and less of human involvement on the top by automations. We want to be enabling human-centric design software. How are they going to do it? So the disability users will have specific questions, easy to understand, and non-technical. And the system will have consider the qualifications and give technical recommendations. Everyone can access the free dashboard, but if they want to detail, they need to pay. Next development will also involve automation and API integration. Through the previous grants, we already concept validation from the government and also from the beneficiaries. And we're also working closely with open government partnership for provisioning digital accessibility standard in Indonesia. We enable feedback loop for everyone in the stakeholder, from company to government to organizations. We are currently building the manual dashboard targeting 4 main sectors. But for 2024, we very focused on release the national election day. What we need, just 200,000, and we want to use it for creative product integration and also automation. We also need to recruit in-house tech team and also B2B sales force. Our revenue stream come from the B2B, partnership and yearly contract, and Bali also becoming a funnel for professional services like custom disability user testing, accessibility audit, and also trainings. This is our team, definitely woman-powered. My name is Rahma, the founders and accessibility lead, and there's also my partner, Didit, here today. We are more than 12 years in the field. So, Indonesia will face biggest election in 2024. Don't disable 22 million disability voters. Thank you.
Any specific person of the jury that would like to kickstart the questions? Well, let's give another round of applause to Suarez otherwise. Sorry, we have a question here from Gautam.
Terima kasih. Very nice. The question I have is around what's the acceptance, because your customer is clearly the government as of now, right?
Yes.
So what is the acceptance level there? And in terms of scaling across borders, neighboring countries, Southeast Asia, have you thought about that as well?
Yes. So yeah, for the government, we literally introduced the topic to them starting last year. So we are, with Open Government Partnership, we're also now working with the Ministry of Informatics and Communication to the provision of the digital accessibility standard. And also we'll start with a smart city first, like Jakarta and Bandung, to create use case. Because most of the time when we said, okay, there is inaccessible app, where is the data? Where is the information? Where are the users? Because of the mobility of a person with disability is very limited, they're invisible. So previously we started with a campaign, but it will take thousands of campaigns to convince them. So that's why we utilize the public dashboard to show there is the people. Because unlike in other countries, which are driven by, okay, audit and conformance first, in Indonesia, we cannot do that because for the last 3 years, we proposed this, and then when we come, okay, let's do the user testing to prove that my platform is inaccessible, then do something. So it's not audit first in Indonesia, it's user first. And in terms of the scale up, actually, we can start also here, India, because you already have regulation, thankfully, and also other global South countries, because it's like people first, like grassroots first, coming out the voice, enable all people to voice together, and then this platform can be also adjusted to every different disability type according to each country population. You're welcome.
Applause to Suarez then. Thank you for coming. Wow, that was really a great competition. All 5 startups, let's give an applause to all of them for making to the final of the region. From one of them will be the winner and will be competing, as Irene was saying, in the Summit for Democracy in Washington, D.C. This year. I'd like to invite on stage Carlos Luca Tetena. He's the Executive Director of the Center for Governance and Change at IE University for addressing the closing remarks.
Thank you, everyone. First of all, I'd like to excuse Dr. Manuel Muñiz, who is unfortunately slightly late due to, well, his flight not getting on time. He might come a bit later, so you can meet him, or you can catch up with him tomorrow at the Raisina conference. I have the award here. I would like to thank everyone who came to witness these fantastic innovations. I'd like to thank the jury members and their questions. Of course, our partners, ORF, especially Trisha Ray, who's been very helpful. Obviously, the US Department of State and Microsoft for their continuing support. And obviously, congratulate the 5 startups, because making it to this final is already quite an achievement. So thank you all. The team is right now counting the votes. So please allow a couple of seconds. I think we have it. And I'll be announcing the winner very shortly. Okay. So I'll open the envelope. And the winner of the Tech4Democracy Asia Pacific region competition is Right to Vote. Please come on stage. Again, thank you everyone for coming. You have a fantastic buffet now for the next hour, and just to let you know that the winner from today's competition will compete at the final Venture Day in Washington, D.C. during the 2nd Summit for Democracies that will take place on the 8th of March. The whole team is actually flying next week to Cape Town to host the Africa Venture Day, where we'll know the last finalist. And we'll have Right to Vote in Washington, D.C. with us. Thank you, everyone. I would like to thank also our Master of Ceremonies, Eugenio. He's a fellow at the Entrepreneurship Center here at IE. He was a student at IE. He's now an alumnus. So thank you, everyone, for coming. And we have an hour to chat and to network now. So thanks, everyone, for coming.